Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell the truth about silver. Today is Thursday, the 11th of November, 2021. And we're producing our Thursday morning gold and silver price update, forecast, and daily news. Gold and silver prices surge on the worst CPI data for 31 years. Let's take a look. Welcome to Illuminati Silver. It's Thursday, the 11th of November 2021, and the weather today is elevated. What we mean by that is, although there are clouds in the sky, they seem to be rising and dissipating, hopefully resulting in some nice weather. However, what is also elevated is CPI in the United States. Yes, if we take a quick look, Consumer Price Index in the US for October was 0.9%. That compared with September's figure of 0.4 and expectations of 0.6, and core CPI 0.6% compared with expectations of 0.4. And this has driven gold and silver upwards. And we shall see what Bloomberg has to say, because it's not quite apparent from its main headlines. They're focusing still on climate change. They also mention here that the UK economy is accelerating on stronger services and construction, and that ECB bond purchases could end next fall. We also see that the EU sees euro area inflation below the ECB's target in 2023, which is interesting when you bear in mind what we've just witnessed in the United States. And they've hidden it here under the headline, Stock Steady Futures Up with Inflation in Focus. Inflation shock tears up trader playbooks from stocks to Bitcoin. The latest surge in US consumer prices is the strongest blow yet to views inflation is transitory, sharpening the focus among investors on how to position as risk assets swing. Value shares, digital currencies, gold and bets on a flatter yield curve are seen as some of the potential beneficiaries from a higher inflation environment, after US prices climbed by the most in 3 decades. The data sent treasuries and tech stocks tumbling and pushed the dollar to near a 1-year high. As expectations mount, the Federal Reserve will have to raise interest rates sooner rather than later. So you may ask the question, if interest rates are going to go up, then how come gold and silver prices have risen? Because if we take a quick look, we can see that gold is up $36 at $1,862. And silver is up 78 cents at $25.01. And yet we have the prospect of rising rates. Well, the answer is simple. The Fed has already given its view on rates and tapering. It's not going to change that for at least a month or so. So until the next Fed meeting, we expect gold and silver now to benefit from this news. And we'll come back to this in a moment. Now, there's a lot to cover, but we want to keep these videos as short as possible. ECB bond purchases could end next fall. The European Central Bank could stop buying bonds as early as next September if inflation looks to have sustainably returned to the official target. Well, that's a little bit of a contradiction, because if inflation is remaining high, they would stop the bond buying sooner, if that makes sense. Not if it falls. Although we can see the argument, if it falls, then of course they don't need to pump more money into the economy. Getting the impression tightening is going to come. Pound-euro woes are back on speculation Fed will hike rates. The pound and euro slid as the dollar rallied on speculation that runaway US inflation may push the Federal Reserve to tighten policy. We have said time and time again, $94 index is going to be the benchmark. Expect the dollar to strengthen. And what has it done? It's up at 94.97. It's been as high as 95.09. Let me repeat that. It's 94.97. You listen to all the pumpers telling you, oh, the dollar's going to collapse. No, the dollar is going to strengthen. What is interesting at this stage, and we have to be very careful, is that even though the dollar has strengthened, gold and silver have risen because the fear of runaway inflation at this moment in time is greater than the expectation of the Fed being able to deal with it with higher rates at this moment in time. We may very well have a runaway peak of gold and silver short term, only then to fall back as the monetary policies are then introduced, which could be further bond tapering and the prospect of earlier rates. Now that is really important. And because we've pushed on with that, just very quickly on other news on the BBC, UK growth slows as supply issues hit the recovery. Musk sells $5 billion of Tesla's shares after Twitter poll, and of course we mentioned yesterday the share price fell dramatically. President Xi Jinping cements status with historic resolution, and basically Reuters are pushing on Evergrande, pointing out cash-strapped developer China Evergrande Group once again averted a destabilizing default at the last minute. Dollar index hugely strong. Oil prices marginally down. Stocks, equity markets in the US yesterday down as a result, short term, of this issue of prospective higher rates, but they're not going to come for a while yet still, which is why we see gold and silver rising even though the dollar has strengthened. Pacific markets are up and European UK markets are broadly up, but only slightly. So, we said all along the important data for this week will be the consumer price index. That was the one to watch, together with any aspect concerning jobs. And what did we have yesterday? We had the jobless claims actually rising slightly by 7,000, rising compared to expectations, but still lower than the previous week. And continuing jobless claims also rising by 0.06 million. Not good news there. Consumer price index, however, off the charts. Today we have Veterans Holiday, so we respect all veterans across the world and we wish them well. And then Friday we have the UMich Consumer Sentiment Index, and have a look at the 5-year inflation expectations. But the key info was yesterday. As we said, gold prices up $36. I'll refresh the page to see this was put up about 20 minutes. It's even strengthened in the last 20 minutes. It's now up $39 at $18.63. And silver was up 78 cents. Let's just do a quick refresh. It's now up 83 cents at 25.01. We have to be careful with gold only because as long as it stays above that crucial what was resistance level and will now prove major support at 1835, we could indeed see 1900 gold. We really could. And with silver, 200-day EMA acted as strong resistance, will now be strong support at 24.52. Watch those figures. Cryptocurrency markets, cryptos went down, a bit like US equities, but we still have a market cap of 2.85 trillion. That's it for now. Going forward, frankly, depends how traders now react to that spike in gold and silver. They all know that interest rate rises are not coming anytime soon, even though the threat of them will arise. It's all a question of how far forward the markets are projecting their assessments, and whether it's going to spook them or whether they're going to let gold and silver run short term simply because no action is going to be taken to correct it. And that's great for those holding gold and silver, of course. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, press the bell sign. Until tomorrow. Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.